Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft Podcast. Now, I've heard about these people called the Children of Artemis, Chris. They ran one of the events that we went to. I don't know if you remember. Witch Fest.
Yes,
Yeah?
Witch Fest.
How did you think that went?
Oh, now I have to behave.
And that says it all. He's basically laughing at it. He's basically laughing at the entire event.
I can't help it. It was hard going. We struggled.
It was hard going.
We struggled.
Did you struggle to stay awake?
I struggled to stay anywhere. We kept going out for breaks.
Okay.
Do you remember? We went outside
I do remember.
to get
we
air
kept going out for breaks.
because we couldn't cope. Yeah. And these were in before the days of my special stone, my amulet for absorbing all the Wiccan bullshit.
There was me thinking that it was just the pagan smell that you were trying to get rid of.
Patchouli does get to you after a while.
Well, there's the patchouli and then there's the other, the general BL.
The body odour.
Yes. Some say pagan smell. That's not true. That's Neo-Pagans, so you need to get that right. Do you know what the difference between a Neo-Pagan is and a normal pagan? Do you know why there is a distinction? Why there's such a thing as a Neo-Pagan? You're the historian, you should know this.
Okay, you want a real answer? Okay, Neo means new.
I want a real answer, yeah.
Neo means new, Liam.
New means new. Does it mean new? I thought it meant almost.
No.
As in almost pagan, but not quite.
No, Neo means new. Like you have the Neolithic. It's the new Stone Age.
Ah. Okay.
This is the new time of the pagans.
So why is it, Chris, because I misunderstand this, why is it that a lot of people say that neo-pagan is used as an insult to mean not really pagan at all, not quite pagan? Like Diet Coke is not really Coke. It don't taste anywhere near as good.
It's not used in that way, except by people elitists like you. Neo-pagans used because to make the clear distinction between the fact that these are new pagans. It has a new revivalist process. This is the
revivalist?
Yeah, this is the reconstructionist versions of pagans.
I know revivalists.
So,
I know revivalists. I've been to revivalists.
Because obviously
churches.
The original version of the pagans are the pagans. So what the Romans called the country bumpkins, the pagans.
Yes.
So people that didn't follow Christian belief.
Yeah.
So this is late Roman, Byzantine, Constantine. So they're separating the fact that they're not the original pagans, they are new pagans. They have rediscovered.
So neo-pagan is not an insult then?
No, just when you use it.
Okay, right. So, are there any pagans still in existence, Chris, do you think?
There are people that want to be them. And I suppose...
Right, okay, because that's not really the same, is it? They'd be neo-pagans,
They're
surely.
neo-pagans. But there are cultures in the world that are not Christian. But to use the word pagan to describe them would be wrong, because it's not a current term that you could use.
Okay.
So really, anybody that calls himself a pagan is technically a neo-pagan.
Technically?
Yes, because you can't really use the word pagan to describe you, because the term would be outside of time. It's not a current term. So what they're actually doing is reviving it. So really, all pagans are neo-pagans.
Okay. This is learning a lot. I'm learning a lot.
You only make the distinction.
What I thought was an insult. What I thought was an insult, I realise now why I can get away with it. Because technically it's not an insult, Chris, am I right?
Technically, it's not an insult, because technically they're all Neopagans.
Yes, they are a bunch of Neopagans. So, Children of the Damned. That's what I might start calling them.
Okay.
Okay. Because, let's be fair, they are pretty much all damned. If they're going about doing the same old shit year after year, week after week, which really ain't a lot, they're kind of damned. So, with the Children of the Damned, is that okay to refer to the idiots of the Neo-Pagan community as Children of the Damned? And just refer to, what would we call the people that are actually trying to put actual effort in? Pagans.
Well, I suppose...
Recreationalists?
Yeah, so they tend to be the recreationists. So they're people that are trying to relive as accurately as possible practices that previously existed. So they're recreationists.
So, the Wiccans, which category did they fall into? Because I can't remember Wicca being a thing in the lifetimes I've had previously. So what is Wicca trying to recreate?
Well, Wicca is trying to recreate real witches. So the word is coming from that. It's that Wicca and Wicca, some Celtic word or something that they try and link it to. In order to kind of suggest that is a new, but they are all reaching back to the same thing, which is Gerald Gardner and his cronies.
Right. So obviously these Wiccans, because they're trying to recreate old witchcraft, and of course we all know that the origins of witchcraft is maleficent and baneful magic, don't we?
Do.
So all these Wiccans, they must obviously be trying to be as maleficent and baneful and bad witches as possible, yeah?
No.
But is not the origin of the word witchcraft kind of that shady kind of practice, that shady magic?
Yes, but Gerald Gardner and his cronies tried to change that.
Right.
With that,
so they're trying to
with the Wiccan
recreate
bollocks.
something. They're trying to recreate something by completely fucking changing it altogether and making something completely new. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. This is why paganism confuses me, Chris.
But you have to be clear about the two separately. If you're being specific, then you have to consider them separately. The same way that there are multiple avenues for Wicca. You have those that are the kind of recreationists, those that are trying to forge a new version of Wicca that is devoid of people like Gardner, that think they're pushing new boundaries within what they call Wicca. So rather than actually recreating witchcraft, what they're doing is recreating Wicca.
But Chris, there's on YouTube a high priest, not just a general priest, a high priest of this tradition of witchcraft called Alexandrian witchcraft that says if you ain't Wiccan and you can't trace your lineage back to Gerald Gardner or Alexander's, that you're not a witch. Because they are the witches. And that it's a fertility mystery cult. And that you can't be a witch if you're not Wiccan.
Yes, but they're wrong.
Right. But they've written books, Chris.
That's fine. Anybody can print a book these days. You've done it. You've done several.
I've written 5 books. And that's not a lie. And when I say I've actually published 5 books that you could actually buy from Amazon. Okay, so I've never gone into this. The whole thing, it all seems very political to me. I like to just stick to the practical magic, right? Practical magic is very much my department.
My favourite movie.
I don't care much for the politics. and I don't care much for the words and this and that and the other. I tend to use the term professional witch and many people will say cunning man, all that sort of stuff. I don't really care about that. At the end of the day, for me, magic, practical applications of magic and learning more about it and facilitating other people's learning when it comes to magic, that's more my kind of thing. All of this religious stuff of the children of the damned, this is where I can, you've kind of got to sit down with your peers, they say, and kind of look at them, look at you, look at your magical practice, look at theirs, and then kind of see what similarities you have in order to have a conversation. And I kind of try and talk to various people like this, that fall into this kind of a category, and you talk a little bit about your ethics, your morality, they talk about theirs, I talk about my magical practice, they don't talk about theirs because they haven't got none, right? So can we talk about the religion of Neo-Paganism and paganism, and then the magical practice associated with it? Because there is a kind of general idea, I think, in the 20th century, certainly within the pagan moots and that sort of thing, that is very much seen as pagan equals magic.
Yeah.
Pagan equals witch, pagan equals this, pagan equals that. And it really doesn't, does
No.
it? If you're wanting to learn magic and go on a magical path, often the worst place you could go is to some sort of pagan ritual.
Yeah. So the problem you've got is all the words as they've tried to reclaim them, because it is one of those. Pagan is a reclaimed word. So there is that part of the tricky that comes with that. So thanks to the likes of Gerald Gardner and the other kind of Wiccan aristocracy back then, has kind of allowed there to be a mixing of terms and this kind of religious aspect. So first of all, we're clearing up the fact we're not talking about. There are lots of pagans that wouldn't consider themselves to be religious. One, because the word religion kind of leans towards organised, and there is very little organised about it, and it's dogmatic. There isn't a set text for paganism, so other people would not like the use of the word religion. Anyway, for our purposes, what we're talking about is the kind of religious like version of it. So the calendar of the year, the Sabbaths, the changing of the seasons, the reverence that comes with that, the worshipping of a particular pantheon, or if it happens to be Wiccan, and that is different, that you have your representational masculine, feminine deities. So I've kind of glossed all over that as one, just to kind of clear the point that we're not attacking the specifics. We're talking about the concept of that and how that balance with practical magic comes in. Again, favourite movie, but carry on. So the actual bit that we struggle with, I think, when you have these conversations at places like Pagan Moots or things like Witchfest, you are hoping that you're going to arrive at a group of people that are practicing witches. And actually, I think a large proportion of them aren't. And I think part of that is by design, but I think too many people conflate the two, and people will say they're witches when they're not really witches. What they are is pagans who might hold some kind of religion, events, or have an altar or something like that kind of equates to them in this kind of post-Instagram world, where having those particular items makes it witchy, and therefore they are witches. I think to actually really claim the title of witch, you need to be practicing, and by that I mean more than observing the season changes. So the wheel of the year, just because you do some affirmations on the full moon does not really make you a witch, in my opinion. I don't know if you would agree with this, Liam, but is that it takes a bit more than having your dream journal and kind of watching the seasons change, making the odd potion, and by that I mean tea, and calling that practice. I find the real use of the word witch for me is it's a lifestyle, all encompassing practice. It's part of everything you do. But you may argue against that, but that's your choice, Liam.
When I look at paganism and pagan ritual and neo-paganism and whatever the fuck is in this century that we're living in currently, I see a bunch of people worshipping and giving their energy to, very often, a fucking egregore, some spirit of some description, and feeling empowered that they're doing that, but they're not giving it to the other spirit that happens to be associated with the other church or whatever it is down the road. I see people smug thinking, I praise the goddess and the goddess has my back, and that making them, help them sleep better at night, and giving all their energy to the goddess. Not really getting a huge amount fucking back, to be honest with you, apart from fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
And lighting candles and the like, and kind of thinking that they're on a great magical quest and a magical journey and a magical path, and very often looking down on the people down the road in the faith healing church. There's a worship in Yahweh or something.
Yeah.
And there's more magic going on in the faith healing church than there is in the goddess center.
I think that... Go on, carry on, sorry.
There is, as I have experienced and got to know more and more and more people that call themselves pagan or neo-pagan, there's a small minority, and I do believe it's a minority, of people that don't really worship. They're people that they're on a magical journey, a magical quest, a magical path, and magic is very important to that, an integral part of that. They're exploring, trying to learn more, and they encounter great, powerful beings, spirits, whatever you want to call them, and they get on quite well with them, and they want to learn from them, and they try to develop a relationship with them. But very often what I don't see them doing is falling down on their knees and just giving them all of their energy and following them. I see them as them treating them like, you've gone to university, Crest, university professors, right? They're experts in their chosen fields, and you go to learn from them. But this isn't Baby Witch's Crash. This isn't, I'll burp you and I'll feed you your bottle and then put you to sleep. That's what I'm seeing neo-pagans, the majority, wanting. They're wanting some super deity to do everything for them, to tell them everything's going to be okay, and all they've got to do is light a bunch of candles and keep Llewellyn, the publishing company, in business by buying more and more and more shitty books that have been copy and pasted.
But you've got to remember that...
That's my opinion. So you can't sue me.
You've got to remember, and I think this is what a lot of these people forget, is what they've really done is traded one subservience for another. They're in a post-Christian world, or trying to be in a post-Christian world where they've...
A fallen world is what our Christian friends call it, Chris.
They're trying to exist in a post-Christian world where, because they've made the choice of which deities they are worshipping, that somehow that is different. the actual behaviour is very much the same. They still have an altar. You can go find one of those in any church. You can go find the candles and the altar cloth and the incense and the
Which you bought at an inflated price from Etsy, when the person that sold it on Etsy went and bought it from a Catholic supply shop.
Exactly.
Stuck a pentagram on it.
Exactly. The church is still making its money off the pagan community, but that's a side hustle. They probably water it down in some way before they go, or spit on it or something. But I think that's the bit that often gets kind of forgotten or purposefully ignored, is the fact that really what you've done is traded one for the other. They're exactly the same. There is no difference. The only difference is that you don't call it Yahweh. And you think that somehow, and I think this is kind of relevant, I think, because we talk, particularly in the Witchcraft Live group, there is a lot of, hating on Yahweh at the moment, which I get, purposely, completely get. But really, people should be checking their practice and making sure that they're not, just trading in Yahweh for a different deity and doing exactly the same. I would hope none of the people on Witchcraft Live would do such a thing, but I think sometimes you need reminding that, that's a specific kind of practice, and you all seem to believe that you've left that behind. So the question is, have you? And are you sure? And probably you should check again.
So, the people with mummy issues, do they gravitate towards Yahweh worship, and the people with daddy issues gravitate towards some sort of goddess worship?
I'm not.
Is that what tends to be the theme?
I'm not giving it anything that specific. What I'm pointing out is more the fact that, or just because there is now a female deity also included in your practice doesn't mean you stopped behaving in the same way as you did in the Christian church.
Very often the ones that come from the Christian church don't go for duality. No. They go for, I'm going to worship a goddess now, and it's all about the goddess, but it's okay because there's a god and he's some sort of consort. It's not really an equal kind of thing in terms of male mystery, female mystery. They come together. It is literally like goddess, goddess, goddess. That bad god I don't worship in anymore, because he isn't as old as this one that was invented in the 20th century. Yeah. That is a image of something that came long before that. Yeah, it is one of those things. Children of the Damned. The episode is called Children of the Damned because if you think about it, if you're damned, you're never actually moving. And you're stuck. You're stagnant, If you crawl through hell to get to the other side, at least you're fucking moving, If you can get to the other side, then technically you are making some form of progress. If you're stagnant, you're not making progress. And the damned, the children of the damned, Neopagans, the ones that are very much just trying to take their self-empowerment and just give it away. Because that's really what you're dealing with. You're talking about, I don't want to stand on my own 2 feet. I want to give the decision making and the power over to someone or something else. These are the same sorts of people that get attracted to cults at the end of the day. And I don't mean the classical type of cult. I mean the modern drink the Kool-Aid suicide pact type cult.
No.
You do share my opinion?
I do. That's why I'm not correcting you. But it is trading one for the other, and I don't think they quite realise quite how similar they are. And yes, it is kind of culty, but I don't think that's the bit that I find the most damaging, really, because to them it's a reclaiming. So I think to go back to the kind of Neo-Pagans again, It's a reclaiming. So bearing in mind, in the Christian world, they've been following this pagan path anyway, because they were all renamed to begin with, in order to line up with the seasonal changes and to make sure the conversion process from pagan to Christian was designed in this way to make sure that happened. All they're doing is reverting, and because they're reverting, they've kind of lost what the original looked like. So they're kind of doing their best to make it up, and then wondering why it still looks the same, when actually the better way to do it would probably be to scrap the system altogether and create a new one. Do things that were completely different, not trying to recreate things of the past, but find new ways to worship old deities. I don't feel that that's what's happening.
But the worship is the problem, isn't it?
The worship is the problem. If you're going for the witch's life, I think if you actually...
It's not worship.
You know?
It's working.
Exactly.
There's a difference. That's what they don't understand.
And that's the difference, which is why I do feel that a lot of these pagans can't call themselves witches, because what they're actually doing is devotion work. And if all your practice is devotionary, you are a religious person practicing a religious task, not a witch. A
robot.
So I'm not going to go that far because I think that would be rude, because there's nothing wrong with that choice if that's what you were looking for. What I don't feel that is actually happening is that you're practicing anything beyond religious devotion, regardless of, like I said...
Yeah, but I think that if masochism is your thing, then you should probably go and to one of those S&M bars, and then you get the real thing. You probably get more fulfillment out of that. So, I don't know. Kind of go big or go home, isn't it? Go all the way.
But that is your opinion, Liam. And my point is saying that actually,
yes, it is my opinion.
If you want to go and be a religious person, then go and be a religious person. Stop using the word witch. That's what I have an issue with. Go and do whatever you like. If you want to go and be a battery for an egregore, that is entirely your choice. Stop using the title that you don't deserve.
The people in general, though, very often, if you look at Christianity and that, they think that they're worshipping the all-powerful spirit. And the all-powerful spirit doesn't need the battery. Obviously, a lot of the egregores do, but that makes it even worse because you're giving yourself to do this because even though it doesn't need you, right? Which obviously is just a ploy, but I don't know. It's one of those things. I've always struggled with the term pagan. I don't like to describe myself as a pagan because I'm not religious. I think same with you, isn't it?
Like, I can't call myself pagan because I don't worship. Yeah. There is no worship in my practice.
No, you're always ordering.
I'm always telling the gods what to do.
Yeah, they work for you. You don't work for them, Chris, isn't it?
So, when you get to be the consultant...
That you're always telling those Celtic, and I use the term Celtic loosely, you're always telling those Mesopotamian spirits to respect their elders, aren't you?
But essentially I think that's the bit that I'm trying to steer you towards, Liam, is the fact that the two are different. It doesn't matter which camp you're in, as long as you realise that's the camp you're in and you're happy staying in that camp. If you want to come and actually do some real magic, then you need to stop calling yourself a pagan and start doing the work of a witch. But if you're happy just being a pagan, then that's fine. Go and do that.
And there we go. That is the end of this episode. So join us next week. Bye.